Imagine walking into an ancient temple in Egypt, not with the flicker of torchlight and the smoke of oil lamps burning your eyes, but with a clean, steady glow washing over the walls. Hieroglyphs sparkle in detail, statues of gods shimmer in an almost otherworldly light. No soot, no flame, just brilliance. It sounds impossible, right? But what if it wasn't? What if, thousands of years ago, the ancient Egyptians already had a secret wireless electricity hiding in plain sight? This is the ancient Egyptian wireless electricity conspiracy, a theory that has captured imaginations, sparked heated debates, and sent chills down the spines of anyone who dares to imagine that history might not be as straightforward as we were taught. And in this video, I'm going to take you on a journey, a deep dive into evidence, symbols, myths, and modern experiments that suggest maybe, just maybe, the Egyptians were harnessing power in ways we're only beginning to understand again today. But let me stop you right here with a quick question. If this turns out to be even halfway true, would it change how you look at the pyramids, at human history, at technology itself? Because by the end, you may not look at those giant stone structures or glowing hieroglyphs the same way ever again. Alright, let's begin with something that has caused endless debate among archaeologists, engineers, and conspiracy theorists alike: the mysterious carvings at the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. At first glance, they're odd but not too unusual. Egyptian temples are covered in hieroglyphs and images. But take a closer look. These carvings show what appears to be elongated, bulb-shaped objects with a snake-like filament inside. At the base is a lotus flower, and connected to that is something that looks suspiciously like a power source. To many mainstream Egyptologists, these are symbolic snakes emerging from lotuses, myths of creation, nothing more. But to modern engineers and electrical enthusiasts, they look uncannily like giant light bulbs. Imagine drawing an actual incandescent light bulb on a stone wall, but 2,000 years before Edison. What would it look like? A glass tube, a filament, some kind of base? Isn't that exactly what's carved into those walls? And here's where things get weird. When replicas of the Dendera bulb were constructed by researchers using simple materials, they actually worked. Yes, you heard that right. They produced light. The snake in the bulb acts like a filament, the lotus as a socket, and the pillar nearby resembles a jed column, something that could act as an insulator. And there's another mystery. In these underground temples and tombs, there's virtually no soot on the ceilings. If torches and oil lamps had been the primary light source, there should be black residue everywhere. Instead, the ceilings are clean. So how were the workers carving intricate hieroglyphs in pitch-black chambers? Did they really rely on mirrors to bounce sunlight deep into tunnels, as some suggest? Or was there another source of illumination, one that didn't leave behind smoke and soot? Think about that for a second. If you were chiseling tiny hieroglyphs by hand in the dark, would you really want to rely on a clumsy mirror system, or a torch filling the room with choking smoke? Or would a steady, glowing light make a lot more sense? Now this is where the conspiracy thickens. The Dendera bulbs aren't the only piece of the puzzle. Let's shift to the pyramids themselves. We've all seen the massive, towering structures that have stood for millennia. And we've all been taught the same thing: they're tombs. That's the official story. Yet here's the kicker: no mummy has ever been found inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. None. So why build a structure so massive, so precise, so enduring, just to house a body? What if the pyramids weren't tombs at all? Some researchers argue the Great Pyramid was not a tomb, but a machine, a gigantic energy plant. Think about it. The outer casing stones were once made of highly polished limestone, reflecting sunlight and perhaps containing insulating properties. Inside, granite blocks filled with quartz were strategically placed. Beneath the pyramid lies a natural aquifer, and water flowing through it could create vibrations, piezoelectric effects, that interact with the quartz. The entire structure, with its precise angles and alignment to true north, could theoretically channel and amplify this natural energy. In other words, the Great Pyramid might not have been a burial chamber. It might have been a power plant. Nikola Tesla. Ever heard of him? Of course you have. The man who dreamed of providing free wireless electricity to the world. Tesla studied the pyramids, and he was fascinated by their proportions. His own Tesla Tower, designed to transmit energy wirelessly through the air and the ground, had proportions eerily similar to the Great Pyramid. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe Tesla had figured out that the ancients had already cracked the code and he was trying to replicate their work. Now, close your eyes for a second and picture this. You're living in ancient Egypt. You walk into a temple at night, and instead of firelight, it's glowing with a clean white brilliance. The priests raise their staffs, and the Ankh, the symbol of life, sparks faintly like a conductor. People gasp, they fall to their knees, they call it divine. But was it divine, or was it science disguised as religion? That's where the emotional weight of this theory really hits. To the common people, it would have been indistinguishable from magic. To the priests, maybe it was sacred technology knowledge too powerful to share freely. But let's pause for another question. If they had this power, what else could they have done with it? Could they have powered tools for cutting stone? Could wireless electricity have lit up the construction sites at night? Could it have been used in medical rituals or sacred ceremonies, reinforcing the authority of the priesthood? The possibilities start to spiral out of control. And here's the thing. Once you start seeing the symbols and the engineering marvels through this lens, you can't unsee it. Take the Ankh, for example, the famous looped cross, symbol of life. To most people, it's just a religious symbol. But look at it carefully. Doesn't it resemble a tuning fork or a key? Could it have been a conductor, a handheld piece of tech that interacted with whatever power source they had? And then there's the Staff of Thoth, often depicted as carrying divine energy. Were these just metaphors, or were they echoes of something real, tools of power that harnessed energy in ways we've forgotten? Think about the Ark of the Covenant. Different culture, different story, but what was it described as? A golden chest that could strike people dead if mishandled, that could generate power, that radiated energy. Doesn't that sound a lot like some kind of electrical device? What if ancient civilizations across the world were experimenting with energy, each in their own way? But most of that knowledge was lost. The Baghdad battery, the Ark, the pyramids, the Dendera bulbs, are these isolated myths, or are they puzzle pieces of a forgotten technological age? Now here's the emotional gut punch. Imagine being one of the workers deep underground, carving hieroglyphs. You're used to darkness. Then, for the first time, a priest brings in a glowing bulb powered by something you don't understand. The chamber lights up like daylight. You can see every detail. To you, this isn't just light, it's the power of the gods. You carve with awe, believing you're literally etching holy messages in divine radiance. That experience would stick with you for life. That's not superstition, that's raw human wonder. Of course, mainstream archaeologists dismiss this theory. They say the Dendera carvings are symbolic, that soot could be cleaned away, that the pyramids were tombs with complex symbolism, not power plants. They insist there's no hard evidence of wires, generators, or bulbs. And you know what? They might be right. But here's the counterpoint. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. When civilizations fall, knowledge gets lost. Libraries burn. Oral traditions fade. Artifacts corrode. If the Egyptians had electricity, we wouldn't necessarily find intact power lines or copper wiring. It could have been perishable, reused, or dismantled. Let's look at Tesla again. His wireless power experiments never reached full fruition because funding dried up. Imagine if his notes had been lost, his tower demolished, and only vague rumors survived. 1,000 years from now, people might look back and say, "There's no proof Tesla's tower ever worked. It was just symbolic." Do you see the parallel? And here's where we bring it home. If this conspiracy is true, it doesn't just mean the Egyptians had electricity. It means human history is a cycle of discovery, loss, and rediscovery. That we're not always marching forward. Sometimes we stumble, sometimes we forget. And the biggest question of all, if they had it once, what else did they have? What secrets still lie buried under the sands of Egypt, waiting for someone to dig them up and reawaken knowledge we thought was ours alone? So let's do a final recap. The Dendera Light carvings suggest the Egyptians might have understood and used electrical lighting. The pyramids, with their quartz, limestone, and precise alignment, could have functioned as giant power plants. The symbols and myths, the Ankh, the Staff of Thoth, the divine light in temples hint at knowledge lost, technology hidden under the guise of religion. And while mainstream academia rejects these ideas, the fascination remains. Because deep down, we all wonder, are we really the first age of electricity, or just the latest chapter in a much older story? So let me throw the biggest question of all to you. If the Egyptians truly had wireless electricity, what would you do with it? How would it change your view of human potential, of history, of the line between science and magic? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is a conversation that's just getting started. And before you go, if this exploration lit you up, pun absolutely intended, smash that like button, subscribe for more mind-bending dives into history's mysteries, and share this with a friend who still thinks the pyramids were just tombs. Because sometimes the greatest secrets aren't in the future, they're buried in the past, waiting for us to rediscover them. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious.